Madame, monsieur, bienvenue. Nous sommes à J-1 du lancement de Ariane 5 qui est derrière moi ici. Cette Ariane qui est en train en ce moment même de se diriger vers sa zone de lancement. Le lancement est donc prévu demain. Nous allons le vivre ensemble en direct. J'aurai le plaisir de vous retrouver dans quelques instants. Ce sera depuis la salle Jupiter. À mes côtés, Pierre Collet pour toute la partie technique et pour bien comprendre les enjeux de ce placement en orbite géostationnaire de deux satellites très importants. Pour la partie des commentaires en anglais, c'est Brett Klein qui est là.
Hello and welcome to this Ariane 5 commercial satellite launch from the Arianespace Spaceport headquarters here in Kourou, French Guiana in the tropics of South America. We are currently one day before the launching and we are witnessing the transfer of the vehicle from the assembly dock to the launch pad 3 kilometers away. I will be assisted with all technical details by my colleague Juan de Delmo. We are standing about 500 meters from this 3 kilometer long railway line on which the vehicle with the double satellite payload is proceeding to the launch pad. This Ariane 5 is sending 2 satellites into geostationary transfer orbit, one for GE Americom based in Princeton, New Jersey, and the other for SES, the Société Européenne des Satellites based in Luxembourg. This transfer process takes about 1 hour to complete the 3 kilometer distance. Stay tuned for the live broadcast of this Ariane 5 V130 satellite launch.
On se retrouve tout de suite ensemble, salle Jupiter, pour vivre ce vol 130.
Greetings to everyone watching this video transmission of the Ariane 5 V130 launching. A warm welcome to everyone here in Kourou and around the world. We are live from the Jupiter control room. Now we have Juan Delmar with me for a summary of launch events.
During tonight's live launch broadcast, we shall share with you the last minutes of countdown. After Ariane 5 ignition and liftoff, we will follow the main events of the launcher mission, beginning with solid booster separation and nose fairing jettison. During the 10-minute main stage propulsion, we will hear some of the key managers explain their expectations of this mission. After main stage separation and during the 20-minute upper stage propulsion, we will talk about the Astra 2B satellite, as well as about the GE7 telecommunication satellite missions. We will then follow the last key milestones of the Ariane 5 upper stack during the delicate maneuvers of spacecraft orientation, spin-up and separations.
Welcome back live here in the Jupiter control room. Juan, when we do get a chance, we will discuss some of the differences between the Ariane 4 and the Ariane 5 launchings. We have some identifying to do here. Go ahead.
Yes, Philippe Roland from Arianespace sitting next to Range Operations Manager Michel Debrenne, who works for the CNES, French Space Agency. He's in charge of all of the range support, which we could compare to the control tower in an international airport.
Okay, these guys are really the heart and the brains of this operation. We see the launch pad here. We're going into the operations room now. Here we are.
Another team in a much closer building, the so-called launch center, where the team is being led by Jean Rebeu, the launch operations manager. They are at only 3 kilometers away from the launch pad.
In fact, at time of launching, these are the people closest to the launch operation. What are the figures showing here now, Juan?
Some of the main watches here, the top one is giving the countdown time, so you see minus 10 minutes and counting. The second line is giving current universal time, and the third one is the intended ignition time, T0.
Okay, the launch pad here sits literally in the middle of the Amazon forest. We're going into a presentation now, a live presentation of everything that is taking place here, facts and figures about this launcher.
We start with some data about the launch vehicle itself. more than 40 meter high and more than 700 tons mass at liftoff.
This is a heavier vehicle than the Ariane 4 then?
Yes, it is. And it will give a higher propulsion, therefore a higher acceleration at liftoff.
Okay, first client here is SES Astra, the 2B satellite. A mass at liftoff more than 3,000 kilos.
That's a quite large spacecraft.
Okay. We'll be going into 28.2 degrees east.
Yeah, that's over Central Africa.
That's right.
Covering Europe and Northern Africa.
That's right. We then are looking at GE Americom, the second client here, launching a GE7 satellite. This is a smaller satellite than the first one.
Yes, it is.
Okay, it will sit at 137 degrees west. That's above the coast of California.
Its footprint will cover all of the continental United States, including Alaska and Hawaii.
Okay, it certainly was impressive watching that, the vehicle being taken across.
Jean-Marie Luton, the chairman of Ariane Espace, in the flight direction cell.
Okay, we're going to news now from Ariane Espace.
6 September 2000. With its usual reliability and orbital accuracy, Ariane Espace launched the W1 telecom satellite for the European Eutelsat operator. It was the 56th successful launch in a row for Ariane 4. Construction of a new payload processing complex is well underway at Europe's spaceport in Kourou. It is designed to handle several large spacecraft in parallel and will progressively begin service early next year. More accurate weather forecast is now possible for both spacecraft and launcher operators. With the brand new Romuald radar connected to the CNES meteorological station at the spaceport in Kourou and to the Météo France National Public Service Network. Series production contracts of Ariane 5 elements worth 250 million euros have been signed this year between Ariane Espace chairman Jean-Marie Luton and Astrium Space Infrastructure president Joseph Kin.
Okay, back live here, Brett Klein with Juan de Dalmau. We've got green lights, all systems are go. ¿Cómo estás, hombre?
Muy bien, gracias. I hope that we do have some Spanish-speaking people listening to us in the United States and in Europe, because this is being broadcast not only to French Guiana, but also to many other sites in the world,
absolutely,
including Japan and Singapore for the Ariane Espace office. This is Véronique Seguin, who is program director for this particular mission at Ariane Espace site.
Attention pour le début de la séquence synchronisée. Top à 0-7 minutes.
Okay, we've had a very important announcement there. Juan, we are going into the synchronized sequence. What does that mean exactly?
What that means is that between now and ignition and liftoff, there is a high number of operations to be performed in dialogue between the launch vehicle and the ground control systems. And those measurements and commands are so fast that it is safer and more reliable to do them by computer. But there is always the possibility of human intervention to stop the countdown, of course.
Basically, humans can begin this process and certainly can end it. But now the facts and figures are coming so fast now over the computers that only a computer network can handle all this and to digest the data and to see exactly what's going on.
And of course, part of the systems participating in the countdown are the satellite people. We see here part of the GE7 team represented by Danny Harel, who is the Senior Vice President at GE Americom, and also Mauro Pasquale from Lockheed Martin, who is the manufacturer of the GE7 spacecraft.
Okay, we know that this is a double launching here with a heavier payload on this Ariane 5 than the Ariane 4 capacity.
Yes.
We should say, of course, that the Ariane 4, of course, still functions. In fact, the two function in tandem. As this is going off, there is a 4 launch that is being prepared. We have a look at the weather now. What do we see, Juan?
Well, this is a satellite picture of the clouds over South America. You recognize the coast of South America where French Guiana is, right in the middle of the picture. We had the last meteor report a few minutes ago, and all criteria are go for liftoff in less than 5.5 minutes now. And we have confirmation of some of the key milestones during the synchronized sequence. For instance, the topping up of the main stage tanks has been stopped as foreseen. Pyrotechnic arming is proceeding.
Okay, I think this is a good time to say hello to some of the people all over the globe watching and listening to this. A warm welcome, first of all the sites here in Kourou at the Guyane Space Center. Then we have Arianespace headquarters in Évry, outside of Paris.
These are SES people we see right now.
Okay, then we have the EADS people in Les Mureaux. We've got the 3 SNECMA sites in Corbeil, Vernon, and Bordeaux. We've got Arianespace and all of their guests in Washington, watching this in English, I presume. Huh? We've got the CNES people watching this in Toulouse, also home to Astrium, who built the SES Astra satellite. We've got the European Space Agency people in Noordwijk in the Netherlands, and Belgische Rundfunk in Munich. We've got SES Astra in Luxembourg, Europropulsion in Suresnes outside Paris. We've got a whole crew of people, plus there's everybody watching this in Asia, and there's even a crew, I understand, an American crew watching this launching on the beach here in Kourou. Of course, they don't have the benefit from the great sound that we're giving them, but they, and with the rain that we saw here, I wonder if they're there, but I hope they have mosquito repellent with them, because that is serious business.
We do have main stage tanks at flight pressure right now.
Okay, the clients today, we can repeat that GE Americom with the GE-7 satellite built by Lockheed Martin based in Sunnyvale, California, and the SES Astra with the 2B satellite built by Astrium.
In Toulouse, France.
In Toulouse, also in Germany, also in England. We've got another European consortium kind of a deal.
We now have the T0 time that has been loaded into the onboard computers.
Okay.
All systems go for an ignition in 3 minutes, 16 seconds and counting.
It's a beautiful sight, the launcher sitting out there in the night like this, the white against the black with the forest in the background. Here we are back in operations room here.
Jean Rebeuf from Arianespace again, leading his team close to the pad.
This is, in fact, the man closest to the action.
That's correct.
Okay. Back in the Jupiter control room here. The tension is building.
Let's explain how the automated ignition and liftoff sequence will happen in less than 3 minutes now. We should see at the final count that T0 corresponds to ignition of the main Vulcain engine. And during 6 seconds, the performance of that engine will be checked by the ground and onboard computers. And only after those data are correct, the command will be given for ignition of the 2 solid boosters. And only then we should see the massive 540 tons lifting off.
Okay, we've got, from our control booth, our broadcast booth here up above the Jupiter room, Juan, we've got a view of everybody glued to their computers, basically, to the screen in front of them and to their, each to their individual computer screens.
Yes. Here we have Wiener Kernissen from SES in Luxembourg. We should listen to him a bit later in an interview.
Right, we're back at...
We now have confirmation of open valves for the main Vulcain feeding lines. Vulcain being the main cryogenic engine in the main stage, which will be using almost 160 tons of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen during the first 10 minutes of flight.
Okay, we have a system here where nothing can go wrong. This is called a single point failure system, if I understand the term correctly, which means if one thing goes wrong, it's all off. So every one of these people has a specific function to make sure that nothing goes wrong.
Yes, they do have specific function, and most of them are in connection, in permanent communication with...
Attention pour moins 1 minute.
Okay, we're coming up on 1 minute here.
Top à 0 moins 1 minute.
Okay, Juan, we are inside 1 minute. The tension is building in the Jupiter room. Of course, this is the scene outside. This is GE Americom's 14th launching with Arianespace and its first on an Ariane 5.
Switch to onboard power.
Okay, for SES Astra, this is the 6th launch with Arianespace, and this is their first Ariane 5 as well. In fact, this is the first for a commercial European satellite operator. Okay, we're at minus 30 now. All the best for everyone.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage. Allumage V130. Allumage des EAP et décollage.
We have liftoff. We have liftoff.
Beautiful pictures. We have now beginning of the tilt and roll maneuvers.
Juan, we can feel the launcher. We can feel the spacecraft as it goes above the building here. We can feel the walls vibrating.
Les paramètres sont nominaux.
That's right. We are at 14 kilometers from the launch pad.
Fin de
Only
la
now we
manœuvre en
start
roulis.
hearing it.
We also see half of the people in the Jupiter room here have gone outside to watch this from the outside.
Most of the light here comes
Le
from the
pilotage est calme, tous les paramètres sont normaux.
powerful solid boosters, and the range operations manager is reassuring us all onboard parameters are nominal.
Okay. This is a much more powerful launching than the Ariane 4 launch.
Tous les paramètres au bord sont normaux.
Just one of the boosters is providing the same thrust as a full Ariane 4.
Now we can feel it. You feel it overhead, Juan?
Yes, I do. Now don't be afraid, the launcher appears to be going down, but that's just an optical illusion.
Les paramètres au bord sont normaux. Passage de la pression dynamique maximum.
Camera is just underneath the trajectory. We got through maximum dynamic pressure, and this is a beautiful picture from the optical telescope located on Devil's Islands.
This is real action, real live time here.
Look at the altitude on the right-hand corner, 33 kilometers above the Atlantic Ocean and climbing. Velocity is already 1.5 kilometers per second, so we have been through the phase of maximum dynamic pressure. So we're several times speed of sound right now.
Passage de l'accélération maximum.
How is this Ariane 5 trajectory different from an Ariane 4 trajectory?
Well, the main difference is the intended orbit. We will reach higher perigee, which will be about 560 kilometers. So the spacecraft will be delivered at a higher point in their. Here we go with the
Séparation des EAP.
Okay, we have had the jettison of the solid boosters announcement. This is the first major event after the liftoff itself.
Correct.
Juan, these boosters fall back into the ocean after being jettisoned. What exactly is the function of the boosters?
Well, they're giving a very high propulsion. In fact, they've been providing over 90% of thrust so far for the first 2 minutes. And their main mission is to get the whole launcher out of the atmosphere as fast as possible. So we are now, as you can see, above 90 kilometers. So we are, what we could say, in the vacuum of outer space.
Tous les paramètres au bord sont normaux.
Okay, everything is normal on board. In fact, the launcher's attitude and trajectory are totally being controlled by the two on-board computers.
That's correct.
They are located in the vehicle equipment bay.
Right, on the top of the launcher. But I think we can now mention the good performance of main contractor for the boosters. That's EADS.
Largage de la coiffe.
Okay.
We have got the jettison of the fairing. The fairing is the protective cover over the satellites themselves that form
Yes.
the head of the space vehicle.
Yes, so we are, as we said, in the vacuum, so we do not need this protection anymore. Here we go, losing about 2 tons of unneeded weight now, so all of that will be useful for the performance of the engines.
Okay, tell us, Juan, we now have 2 naked satellites sitting up there in space, roaring through space, especially the one on top. How can
Yes.
they handle the pressure now?
Well, in fact, the Swiss-made fairing is not needed anymore because there's no pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very happy to be here at the Space Museum just next door to Jupiter Mission Control with 4 of the key
Tous les paramètres
managers
sont
of this
normaux,
Ariane
les
Flight
écarts d'altitude sont
130
très
mission,
faibles.
representing both customers and Arianespace. If you allow me, I would like to start asking the first question to Madame Véronique Seguin, who is the program director for this Arianespace mission. Véronique, bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Could you please explain to us why this
Tous les
Ariane 5
paramètres
mission
sont normaux.
is so important for you and for your 2 customers?
All launches are important for Arianespace, but this one is particularly important as it is the third commercial launch of Ariane 5, and we need to show the Ariane 5 launcher capacity in terms of reliability, quality, and launch rate.
That's right. And I think that one of the two customers you are serving is GE Americom, who is represented here by Dennis Heiler. You're launch program manager for GE Americom in the United States, and I'm sure that this is not the first launch campaign you're doing in French Guiana. Could you please explain to us, Dennis, why is it that your company keeps coming back to launch from here?
Reliability. The rocket has a very high reliability. The service here in French Guiana is very good. And we get treated well. And it shows back to our customers that they know that we're launching off a reliable rocket, so they feel much better about it.
Thank you, Dennis. Your co-passenger sharing the ride today on Ariane 5 is represented here by Wiener Kernissen, who is working for Société Européenne de Satellites back in Luxembourg, even if I could imagine you prefer living and working here. Wiener, could you tell us what is the challenge for your company of this particular
Tous les paramètres sont normaux, les écarts d'altitude sont toujours
All our
faibles.
satellites are important to us and to our customers, but this Astra 2B satellite that we're going to launch today is of particular importance. This is the second satellite that we're going to locate at our second orbital position to cover and provide broadcasting services to the British Isles. The satellite will cover also part of Europe, but our main customer right now are from the British Isles on this satellite.
Thank you, Wiener. As you probably know, and all of our audience also knows, there was just a few days ago, 8 days ago, another Ariane launch. It was an Ariane 4. But what many people don't know is how Arianespace is organizing its own teams and its own work to make this possible. And we're happy to have with us Philippe Roland, who is mission director for this launch campaign. Philippe, bonsoir. Can you give us the secret for this launch rate increase that you're able to attain?
So you know that for the time being we have two launch pads in parallel. So Arianespace decided to have in Kourou all the manpower necessary to work with these two pads in parallel, so that we can, with the Ariane 4 launches, have, let's say, 2 launch a month, and then with the new Ariane 5 pad, we can then launch a third one in a month. So that normally we should do this for the third time today.
Well, thank you very much, and let's cross fingers for tonight and also for all the other launches to come between now and the end of the year. It's going to be a very busy period.
Okay, we are back live here in the Jupiter control room. Brett Klein with Juan de Dalmar. Okay, we've had a handing off to the tracking station. What does this mean exactly?
What it means, as we see now on the picture, is that the Ariane 5 is approaching end of Kourou visibility. So another station has to take over, and that one is located over Brazil, being managed by a team of Brazilian technicians in permanent contact with the Guyana Space Center teams here in Kourou. So all the data you see on the right-hand side, as well as the trajectory, which you can see is following very carefully the intended path.
1 minute 30 de propulsion APC.
Those data are being transmitted by the launcher to the ground stations, and only part of them are being analyzed and displayed right now.
Okay, what we can say following that,
sont très faibles.
we can say about this museum piece that we recorded here that basically both of these clients, GE Americom and SES Astra, we've got some ministers here.
Yes, in fact, this launch is also very important because we do have the presence of some of the top officials in the French and the German governments. This is
Roger Schwarzenberg,
the French Minister of Research, who came for the launch, and also
Il
with
reste
him
30
is,
secondes de propulsion APC.
the General Secretary of the German Ministry of Research and Technology.
His name is Uwe Thomas, the other gentleman that we saw. Right. Here we are. Okay, back to what we were saying before here. In fact, these two clients have worked on a long-term basis already with Arianespace, and perhaps the message coming out of that museum interview that we saw that you did so well there, Juan. Bravo.
Oh, thank you.
Il faut le dire, okay. Ariane is the market leader in commercial satellite launchings, but it is not the only game in town, so to speak.
That's
okay.
Right.
What have we just seen here?
de PC.
Okay, let's listen to the next announcement.
We've had a main stage separation here.
Et allumage de l'EPS.
Okay, the ignition of the upper stage.
Okay, so now we're through the 10 minutes propulsion of the main stage, which is also assembled in Europe by EADS launch vehicles with the help of some main contractors, for instance, for the main Vulcan engine, that is Snecma. And now we are using the propulsion of the upper stage, which will last for about 20 minutes.
Okay. I'd like to finish the brief museum interlude here by saying that, in fact, there are launchings here from Kourou, from Arianespace. There are also launchings from Cape Canaveral in the U.S. and from Kazakhstan. And the clients here speak of the transparency that Arianespace encourages and promotes, and the open access to information, and this is a big plus for Arianespace.
Indeed, very appreciated by all of them.
Because this is turning into becoming a very highly competitive market, and unfortunately we can't really take the conversation further along these lines. It is a very sensitive matter, but needless to say, something that Arianespace people are very, very concerned about and very positive about.
Yes, I think we can later on, Brad, if you allow, we can say some words about the telemetry importance, and that goes together with the
absolutely right
with the transparency policy.
Absolutely right. Okay, now with the spacecraft climbing, taking the two satellites into the transfer orbit, there is activity on the ground, on the launch pad. Now this activity has to do with the preparation for the next launch, the next Ariane 5 launch. What is going on the ground right now, Juan?
Well, something we could not see because it is a night launch is the water deluge immediately after liftoff, using incredible amounts of water just to cool down and dampen the vibrations on the launch platform. That is the beginning of the 9-day cycle, or the 9-day flow of operations that will allow the Space Center teams to reconfigure the mobile launch platform to inspect and replace some of the umbilical lines and interfaces. In fact, as soon as tomorrow, that platform will be rolled back to the final assembly building for replacement and cleaning of the umbilicals that were doing the interface.
What about that table itself, that orange table?
Yes,
how much damage has been done to the table?
Oh, practically no damage. The only equipment that has to be replaced is the interface connections, the so-called umbilicals.
And what about that little blue truck?
Well, that one is reused.
Must have a very low gear ratio on that truck.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux.
To see it pulling a huge launcher like that.
No violent accelerations, of course. So listen and look at the lower lines of the screen. We are increasing altitude, as you see, to 178 kilometers above the Atlantic Ocean and approaching the mid-Atlantic towards Africa at almost 8 kilometers per second. And if you watch that figure of launcher velocity, it should climb up all the way to 9 kilometers per second before the two spacecraft can be injected into orbit.
Is this a faster velocity than the Ariane 4 would be?
The injection velocity is about the same, because you're placing two satellites into a geostationary transfer orbit, so there's not much of a difference. The altitude does change. I believe this is Danny Harel, is that correct?
Absolutely right, GE Americom. Absolutely, who was so helpful with the information that he gave at the press conference today. We are now heading into an interview.
Yeah, more than 14 minutes of flight.
Cette conversion représente d'abord un grand succès industriel et technique, puisque
this cooperation is for us a great industrial and technical success. because we are launching the 25th satellite based on the Eurostar 2000 platform, a large state-of-the-art telecommunication satellite with proven technologies in systems like power and attitude control, which ensure a lifetime of 15 years.
Et avec dans le domaine aussi bien de la puissance que du contrôle d'attitude des systèmes qui ont fait leurs preuves. Je dois dire en plus que ce satellite a traversé, le programme a traversé un certain nombre, comme il est d'usage dans les programmes spatiaux.
As it often happens in the space sector, this program also had a certain number of technical challenges, which were all successfully overcome, allowing us to guarantee to our customer a good performance in orbit for the 15 years to come. Most importantly, this program has given us the great chance of working with the first European satellite operator and one of the first in the world. As you know, SES is an important global player with presence in the 3 continents, and we have given and continue to give priority to our working relationship with SES.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont toujours nominaux.
Back live here in the Jupiter control room. That was an interview with Armand Carlier, the chairman of Astrium, based in Vélizy in Paris.
Yeah, he's in fact physically with us tonight, as you can see on the screen, and he's monitoring the behavior of his, I might say, upper stage, because Astrium is also manufacturing the upper stage in Bremen, Germany.
Astrium is in fact a consortium of a number of European companies. We've got Marconi and British Aerospace Systems in the UK.
Let's now mention Mr. Horst Rauch from MAN Technology also.
Astra 2B is the 10th satellite in a fleet providing television, radio,
Il reste 11 minutes de propulsion terrestre. Les paramètres de bord sont toujours nominaux.
Million European homes. The spacecraft is owned and operated by Société Européenne des Satellites, Europe's leading satellite operator, and it will be positioned at the company's second orbital position of 28.2 degrees east. From here, it will provide coverage for the exploding digital markets of the UK and Ireland. With 10 satellites in orbit and further launches planned to meet the continuing and growing demands of Europe's broadcasters, SES is a key player in the digital communications revolution in Europe. SES is based at Château de Betzdorf in Luxembourg, in the heart of Europe. This is the center for all the company's commercial operations, as well as the site for the satellite control center. Here too are the transmission centers that monitor and guarantee the technical quality of all Astra's transmissions. Building on its remarkable and pioneering achievements in Europe, in 1999, SES extended its reach with the acquisition of a 34% stake in AsiaSat, Asia's leading satellite operator. The combined coverage of the AsiaSat and Astra satellite systems means SES can now provide coverage to 2/3 of the world's population across 3 continents. With further strategies in development for expansion of its position in the American continent, this is but one more step towards the company's goal of offering global broadband connectivity to its clients. SES also continues to push back the boundaries of data communications for the internet age. It has developed the AstraNet platform for multimedia content providers and businesses to deliver data at high speed using its Astra satellites. Clients can use the facility to deliver data packages, stream video, or offer high-speed internet services to their clients via the Astra satellite system. The transmissions can be delivered to a single point or multicast across Astra's extensive footprint to multiple users throughout Europe. And with expansion into other world markets such as Asia, SES is developing the capability to extend this footprint right across the globe. SES is also pioneering high-speed two-way communication via satellite. Using satellites equipped with Ka-band transponders, users can access the Astra satellites directly from a small dish at their own premises. Through the introduction of new technologies and new services, the continual development of its satellite fleet, and expansion into new markets and territories, SES continues to lead the way in the provision of high-speed, high-quality satellite transmission services for today and for the future.
All onboard parameters are nominal.
Back live here in the Jupiter control room. We have a few details about SES Astra. This is the 10th satellite for the Astra network, the 6th that is going up on Ariane Espace, all of this since 1988. Astra satellites carry a very impressive 1,000 television programs simultaneously. That is certainly a very impressive figure.
I must say. Mr. René Steichen, chairman of the board of SES. And it's very interesting, Brad, you're mentioning the number of satellites having been launched by Ariane, and in fact both of them confirmed this morning, both SES and GE Americom, that they will be back in Kourou before the end of the year for another satellite launch on Ariane.
That's absolutely right. GE Americom has another launching scheduled for December of this year. In fact, GE Americom operates almost exclusively in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and a very little bit in Argentina.
Yes, this is Françoise Bouzita, General Secretary of Ariane Espace.
Okay. GE Americom did buy into the Nowelsat there in Argentina, so they've got a bit of that market there. We did hear from the VP Danny Harrell this morning that GE Americom is building a tracking station in Gibraltar and is planning to share an orbital position with a European company there. This is obviously to get a foothold in Europe. GE Americom, in fact, is number 2 in the United States, behind the Panamsat U's, and in front of the number 3, which is L'Oréal.
Alain Bensoussan, the chairman of the French space agency, CNES, also sitting next to the French minister, watching very closely the advancement of events.
Okay, this post-launching sequence, in fact, is much longer for the Ariane 5 than for the Ariane 4.
Yes.
Why is that?
Longer mission because we are attaining a higher altitude.
We've got the minister here. We had Roger Girard Schwarzenberg.
The altitude will be higher, and the next event we're approaching is the...
We've got the German minister there, yep.
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
It's Uwe Thomas. What does this mean now for the fact that these ministers are here? This is obviously a very, very high priority on European.
Yes, it is very important for us in the space community to see that also the high-ranking officials from the European governments do have interest in our activities, because without public funding, as you know, Brad, all of these developments would have never been possible. Even if now the operations are fully commercial in the launch business, the development of the launches, the research and technology effort that is initially needed has to be funded by public efforts, and this is true for any country in the world.
That's true, although we must say that one of the major differences between, for example, the United States and the European operations is that many of the operations in the United States, in fact, are private, and much of the work being done in Europe is certainly being done with public consortiums, with state or state broadcasting companies, much as many of the users of these satellite networks are in Europe are very often the state-run broadcasting companies, whereas in the States they are private. They are private clients of the satellite operators.
Well, I think you have a very good example of a private operator here with SES, and I think that they have a common strategical feature with GE Americom, that is that they both announced publicly that they are making efforts to become global players, so they are extending their network, both SES and GE Americom. They want to get out of their continents of birth.
That's right. In theory, the GE Americom people say that they reach about 68 million households across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The SES Astra people say that they reach about 78 million households in Europe. That is more than the client who just sent up a a satellite on the last Ariane 4 launching, which in fact I did broadcast here last week with the world-famous Bart Elliotson.
Il reste 3 minutes de propulsion.
Yes, these are
at my side here.
impressive figures of audience, and
this means that was a Eutelsat, in fact, the client there. This means that SES Astra is the #1 operator in Europe, whereas GE Americom is in theory is the #2 operator in the United States. Astra did tell us, in fact, that they are running this on their satellite network, this broadcast, so that the people in Europe with the Astra dish can pick this up live in both French and English. Now, how about that, Juan?
so hello in Europe, where it is already past midnight.
Que dices, hombre?
Muy buenas noches.
Buenas noches. This means that people can see this in French and in English. We're very happy about that.
And also Gute Nacht, I believe.
Gute Nacht.
We have many German-speaking
Was sagst du dann? Ja.
watches right now.
I figure that between the languages that we speak between us, we could run this broadcast in 3 or 4 different languages.
Right.
We might have some trouble afterwards, though. Nicht wahr? Yes.
These people we see right here are responsible for all the telecom network, including the links between Kourou and all of the tracking stations. Okay, 2 more minutes to go for upper stage propulsion.
Okay, right now we can talk about one of these guarantees of quality that Arianespace is so very careful to provide its clients. This is something known as the recording the telemetry. This is a technical procedure, but it's definitely worth the description. Go ahead, Juan.
Yes, in fact, the reason for the telemetry recording in the ground stations is that the reliability policy of the whole Ariane launch system makes it compulsory to have an uninterrupted coverage of all of the launcher trajectories, so that you can record all the hundreds of parameters and analyze them after launch to make sure that you can detect the slightest deviation from the normal behavior and correct it before the next launch is authorized. So this is part of the launch system quality assurance. And those technical informations are shared with the Ariane customers, the Arianespace passengers. This is part of the transparency policy as well, so that they feel much more comfortable when choosing Ariane.
Okay, we know that there's a lot of strategy being developed here among the big satellite operators. We had word from GE Americom that they would like to launch these intercontinental links. These are lengthwise links, going over the oceans in between continents. And of course, Astra has also announced that it's a global expansion strategy, and this is the name of the competition in this field. A great silence here over the Jupiter control room.
We're waiting for the next milestone, as both altitude and velocity are increasing.
Extinction de l'EPS.
Okay, upper stage.
Shut down.
Shut down.
We have had the shutdown of the upper stage. What does this mean exactly?
That means that the launcher has measured that it reached the intended velocity. And right now, we can say thank you to Astrium Bremen for the upper stage, and we still have to wait a little bit before we say thank you to Astrium Toulouse for the vehicle equipment bay and the attitude control system, because they still have some job to do. As you know, the onboard computers and all of the navigation, guidance and control systems are part of the vehicle equipment bay, and that is going to control now the sometimes called space ballet, meaning that each of the 2 satellites have to be positioned and they have to get the right spin before they're separated.
So in other words, the next important step that we're going to see here, the first thing will be the separation of the Astra 2B satellite.
Well, I hope it will not be 2B very soon.
We are waiting for this. It's not happening yet. Who do we have?
Séparation Astra 2B.
There we go. We have had the separation of the Astra 2B satellite. We have a lot of smiling faces. To be or not to be, that was the question.
That was the question.
But that is no longer the question.
There's another one to be, that's GE7. And as you can hear, almost nobody applauded here. people are respectful and are waiting for the separation of the second bird.
But in fact, we know that the Astra 2B people are very happy. How about that, the 2B people?
Yes.
They are very happy indeed. We see smiles on their faces. So we have half of this mission now that we can qualify as a success. Of course, the mission is not a total success until it's a total mission.
Right. There's another German company, MAN, working both for the manufacturing of launcher parts and also of launch facilities. Some of the major metal structures here are designed and built by MAN Technologie. All onboard parameters are go.
Okay. We're coming up on the next important step here, which is going to be the separation of the Silda. What is that exactly?
I hope we can see it on the next computer animation. The Silda is an intermediate structure that is holding the upper satellite and protecting the lower one. And can you guess who manufactures the Silda? That is also Astrium.
Also Astrium.
In Friedrichshafen in southern Germany. Beautiful place.
Is it as nice as Toulouse in lovely southern France?
Maybe less southern, but you know, southern Germany is sunnier than northern Germany. Okay,
we have had separation of the Silda.
Of the Silda.
Will we get some images? Here we go.
This is the
computer-generated images here.
Dual payload structure. And now there is a reorientation, new attitude positioning of GE7, which is right now experiencing the vacuum of space for the first time, and it should do so during the 15 years of expected lifetime. In fact, both satellites are designed to live for 15 years.
We had a thumbs up there from
that was Dennis Heiler, program director at GE Americom.
So he's looking forward to a good separation here. We also have a film coming up here. Was he applauding the film that he knows we're about to see, or is he's waiting for the good news from the satellite?
La phase SK se poursuit nominalement.
I think the chairman of SES is congratulating the General Secretary of Arianespace.
We certainly see a lot more smiles on the faces now than we did a few minutes ago, which means that the tension is releasing slightly, somewhat in the
still a couple of minutes to go.
Absolutely.
Let's say that even if the mission is approaching its end for the Ariane launcher, another important mission is beginning. For instance, for the Astra 2B team, located in Betzdorf, Luxembourg.
We've got a countdown now. We're going to the GE Americom film. Let it roll.
GE Americom.
Fin de la manœuvre d'orientation.
Their presence is transparent to us. News services speak. People listen. Businesses send massive data streams. Enterprise operations receive them. Television broadcasters fill the communication spectrum with images, sounds, and events of our world. And audiences experience them. Receiving and beaming back. Receiving and beaming back. Over 300 GE Americom satellite transponders operate tirelessly and efficiently in a vast arc in space above the equator. Antenna arrays project digital terabytes of information to Americom satellites. And 1,000 or tens of thousands of miles away, an audience is informed. A computer updated. Students learn. Since the pioneer days of 1975, Americom has been a leader in this technology. Broadcasters, newspaper publishers, radio networks, government agencies, business and industry, as well as those probing the secrets of our solar system, rely on this satellite fleet. Our audience is becoming a global legion, bonded together by the fulfillment of their need to know, to understand, and to reach out. We at GE Americom are committed, by our legacy of excellence and technological innovation, to reinforce that bond with satellites that serve us and connect the peoples of our planet.
Back live in the Jupiter control room. All systems are go and everything is proceeding smoothly following that film from GE Americom.
Yes, look at the altitude on the lower right corner. It is increasing. The velocity is decreasing because we are in the geostationary transfer orbit, and as we gain altitude, we'll lose velocity. That's the law of orbital mechanics.
Is that right?
And the lowest velocity will be at the apogee. But
this is a man who's watching. He's watching the skies anxiously, waiting for the next big moment here. That's yes. Dennis from GE Americom, right. Waiting for the separation to come.
So let's wish long life to GE7 now, and most of all, let's wish that the SES and Astrium team in Wetzdorf and all of their ground stations have a successful in-orbit testing and commissioning in the coming weeks. In fact, they still have to fire the onboard apogee motor of Astra 2B for about 5 times to transform that elliptical orbit into a circular one. After that, they'll deploy the solar arrays and the antenna before the in-orbit testing can start.
In fact, we speak often of some of the differences between the American and the European companies, but in fact, there is a lot of very, very close work that is done together.
Oh, I think the methodology is the same.
GE
yes.
Americom, Danny Harella said yesterday that in fact, the GE Americom has just commissioned Alcatel to build 4 more satellites. This was done in an open system bidding system where Alcatel went up against Astrium, went up against Lockheed Martin and some of the other people use, and Astrium got the contract. Alcatel got the contract indeed. So this is an example of that cross-Atlantic cooperation that in fact is very, very common.
Now let's wait for the separation of the lower payload. GE7.
Okay, we've got images on the screen in front of us. Juan, what have we got there on the big screen in front of us in the Jupiter room?
Well, we'll see now another animation of the separation that's coming up. GE7 being separated from the remainder of the launcher. That's only the upper stage and the vehicle equipment bay.
Now the question is, the satellites are going into a geostationary transfer orbit. How long will it take before that transfer orbit becomes some kind of a permanent orbit?
It will take a few days to transform the elliptical transfer orbit into a circular one, and a few weeks for the in-orbit testing before the satellite can start operational life. In fact, Astra 2B will be sitting next to its sisters.
Séparation GE7.
Okay.
We have a separation of the GE7 satellite. General applause throughout the Jupiter control room here.
See some of the VIPs.
Shaking hands all around. Danny Harel is one happy man. Dennis there has got a smile on his face. Véronique Seguin is happy with her clients. This mission has been successful.
This is the separation of GE7, and now the upper stage will be vented in order to prevent an explosion and the generation of unnecessary orbital debris.
Okay, we have a lot of movement here in the Jupiter control room. We have a lot of happy people, a lot of people shaking hands, going around talking to each other.
The commercial mission is over, but the launcher mission itself is not over. We also have the main stage that is going to re-enter the atmosphere, and it is being forced into a so-called flat spin movement in order to maximize the friction with the atmosphere and be destroyed.
Okay, we've got the great film from Ariane coming up. full of these great modern images.
Versatile, flexible, powerful.
Pour le début de la séquence synchronisée, top moins 7 minutes. Donc les H0 moins 3 minutes, correct.
Déroulement correct.
À tous, l'UDDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage ERP. Décollage. Propulsion normale. Tous les paramètres sont normaux à bord. All systems normal. Trajectoire normale. All okay on board.
Ready to serve your business.
Okay, we're back live here in the Jupiter control room. We've got the president ready to make a speech here. Go ahead.
Monsieur le ministre, Monsieur le secrétaire d'État,
Secretary of State, deputies, Mr. Prefect, ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends. It's with great pleasure and satisfaction that I announce to you the success of Ariane 5 this evening. This beautiful success is obviously a great source of happiness for us all, and particularly for SES, Astra, and G Americam, our two customers. According to the first data received, the orbit on which the spacecraft were placed is extremely accurate. The success of this third commercial launch of Ariane 5 in less than a year is extremely significant. It demonstrates that we have a new generation heavy lift launch vehicle which is highly performant and perfectly operational. I would like to begin by congratulating our customers in the order in which they separated. The people responsible for the worldwide operators, Mr. Roman Bosch and Mr. Denis Harel from SES and G America, respectively. Thank you very much for this excellent working relationship and your trust. Thanks for being so faithful to us. SES first launched Ariane 1 with us, 1A, and since then 6 spacecraft have been launched for SES. G Americom is also one of our oldest customers. It's the 14th spacecraft being launched for G Americom here tonight. You will be able to continue to count on the quality of Ariane services in your future developments. I also would like to thank the Minister for Research from France, Mr. Roger Schwarzenberg, and the Secretary of State from Germany, Mr. Uf Thomas. They have given us the honor and the friendship to live with us these moments of emotion that always accompany a launching. The success of this evening is also yours, because Ariane is, of course, the result of a wonderful and extraordinary partnership, exemplary between governments in Europe, united within the European Space Agency, and industry, the European aerospace industry. France and Germany were among the main players of this 20 years cooperation, and also the instigators of this great success. I would like to here express the wish that this partnership continues for many years to come. And finally, more personally, I would like to thank the teams, the CNES, the French National Space Agency, and industrial teams who allowed for this brilliant success this evening, only 1 week after the last Ariane 4 launching. I would like to tell these teams how proud we are of their work, and we wish them good luck, a lot of courage to maintain the launch rate and keep to the launch schedule which we've set ourselves until the end of the year. Availability is one of the strong points of the Ariane system, and I count on you to demonstrate this. I count on you because our customers are counting on you. You are well aware that last week we had just barely launched W1, that we garnered a contract for 2 additional contracts. And this evening, I am authorized to tell you that a large international organization, Intelsat from Washington, D.C., has just taken an important decision, namely to entrust 3 spacecraft to us. And these launches will take place within the 2 coming years. Hence, we must be ready to be very assiduous, as we have a reputation to live up to. I can tell you now that the next launch is an Ariane 4, Ariane 42L for the spacecraft NSAT 110 of the Japanese company SCC. The launch will take place in the very first days of October. Before we listen to Minister Schwarzenberg and the Secretary of State, Mr. Thomas, I would like to hand over now to our 2 customers, the representatives of our 2 customers, Mr. Roman Bosch and Mr. Denis Harel.
Monsieur le Ministre, Monsieur le Secrétaire d'État, Mesdames, Messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, this evening we are witnessing success for the customers of Arianespace, but this evening we're also witnessing a great first in Europe. This is the first time that the new European Ariane 5 launch vehicle carries a European satellite built by Astra for a commercial customer, the Société Européenne de Satellite, SES. Our first thanks go to the technical teams of Arianespace and, of course, of Astrium and SES, who were able to accomplish this joint performance. The spacecraft we have just launched, Astra 2B, will be used mainly to develop digital television broadcasting, especially in the United Kingdom, but also service other countries of Europe. We shall continue to launch other spacecraft, and it just so is that we had to wait for 5 years before SES to come back to Kourou. We launched our last spacecraft here from Kourou in October '95, but I can promise you that we won't work for 5 more years to launch our next spacecraft from here in Kourou. And if everything goes well, and I'm turning towards Jean-Marie Louton, if everything goes well, we will have another launching of one of our satellites here from Kourou before the end of the year.
Second successful launch for America in less than a year. We were here in November '99. 2 successful launches on Ariane in less than a year. That's something to talk about. These 2 missions were critical to America, and as expected, you delivered, really delivered up there. GE7 is critical for America. It's in-orbit protection for Alaska, for radio and cable customers. It's our 4th generation of satellites, and it's the 3rd generation of in-orbit protection that we have. It takes effort of many people to put such a complex project together, and it goes without saying that we want to thank all of them. We can do it here. I personally would like to mention and extend sincere thanks to a few people. First, Ariane Space Organization, to the chef de mission, Philippe Rolland, and Veronique. Thanks a lot. Good job. To CSG, Director of Operation, Michel Debrain. He was very supportive throughout the campaign, and we are very glad to have him with us. Lockheed Martin, we worked with them for many years, and some people spend long time away from home to make us successful. And I would like to mention specifically Charlie Addis, Dave Aronson, Joe Rashid, Dave Uvegas, Joe Rickers, Mark Pasquale, and Piper Lomax. Thank you. And last not least, from GE America, Dennis Heiler, Phil Hamilton, Dave Prell, and Ran Capozzi. They all spend long time away from home and people they love, simply to make us successful, and it's not simple. Finally, I look forward to be here again in December and have another successful launch of GE8 and Astra. Thank you.
Monsieur le ministre, Mesdames et Messieurs,
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say Dankeschön. First of all, I want to thank the technical teams here in Europe, the CNES teams, Ariane Space, Astra, MAN, and all the others who did extraordinary, brilliant work that really impressed me. Secondly, and perhaps even first of all, the customers. The two customers of this evening are a symbol of what we aim at. We want to cooperate with the Americans in high tech. We want to develop in Europe a capacity to share in the competition. This very fortunate combination is today successful. And my third Dankeschön goes to the kind reception we have, for the kind reception we have received here in Guyana. We are very moved, and we have lived this kindness almost as a launch. And my fourth Dankeschön goes to the minister. When I was young, when I was a student, I received the little red book written by Mao Zedong. I don't know whether you know this little red book. In this red book, you find, and I quote, if you want to understand what a pear is, well, you have to bite into the pear to understand Kourou, the space policy. You gave me the policy to take a good bite. You gave me the possibility, excuse me, to take a good bite.
Mesdames, Messieurs, chers amis,
ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is with great emotion that I lived through this beautiful moment with you. It's the first launch I attended, and as everybody realizes, it's an exceptional moment. I would like to thank the Ariane space teams, ESA, CNES teams present here in Kourou and Evry, and the teams from the European aerospace industry. It's the sixth Ariane 5. It's the sixth launch this year, the third Ariane 5 launch, and only 1 week after an Ariane 4 success. Astrium is the manufacturer of this satellite of SES, and I would like to congratulate the Director General Romain Bauch, who is present here. I'd also like to congratulate the representatives of GE American Communications, who trusted Europe to place their spacecraft into orbit, and for the remarkable mark of competitiveness and the reliability of the launch to be recognized in the world over, making Arianespace the worldwide leader in a highly competitive sector. I also, of course, wish these two customers the best of luck in the future, that their future be nominal. 60% of communications in the world were launched here by Ariane. This success illustrates the capacity of Europe to be in the first position of world competition when it brings its forces and efforts together. And I'd like to salute the presence of the Secretary of State of German Research, Mr. Uwe Thomas. Germany is our main partner in the European Space Agency within the Ariane programs. I'd like to also welcome Mr. Konstantin Aliadrakis, the French parliamentarians, the chairman of the space group of the Parliament, Pierre Ducou, and I'd like to finish off by paying tribute to the teams of the Guyana International Space Center, who have continued their efforts after weeks back behind and the success of Ariane 4. We'd like to congratulate the Ariane Space teams, ESA teams, and the European Aerospace Industrial teams who here in Kourou work in a remarkable and exemplary partnership. You have said, in quoting Mao Zedong, you quoted a very operational sentence. Not all of his literature is as operational. And considering him as an author, you said that you realized that he said that women bear half of the heaven. It is obvious that men carry the other half. I'd like to congratulate the women and the men working in this direction, and in this way Europe is taking its liftoff into the flight into the stars of this beautiful equatorial sky. I'd like to thank everybody, every single one of you, for writing the pages of history of the past and the future.
We have a replay coming up here.
Allumage V130. Allumage aux UAP et décollage. Allumage V130. Allumage aux UAP et décollage. Début de la manœuvre en roulis. Allumage V130. Allumage aux UAP et décollage. Début de la manœuvre en roulis.
What a great way to end a spectacular evening with these absolutely spectacular images of this Ariane 5 launching. It is time for us to say goodbye now. First of all, a magnificent congratulations to Arianespace for this launching. We have another replay coming up. Another replay.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top, allumage, allumage V130, allumage aux UAP et décollage, début de la manœuvre en roulis. Les paramètres sont nominaux. Fin de la manœuvre en roulis. Le pilotage est calme, tous les paramètres sont normaux.
Back live here, we had a replay once again.
Allumage aux UAP et décollage.
We could do these replays all night long. The sight is so spectacular, isn't it?
Début de la manœuvre en roulis.
We are back live once again. Okay, now it is finally time to say goodbye as we are standing here in the broadcast booth as the people are filing out of the Jupiter room. First, we have a big congratulations to Arianespace for this very successful Ariane 5 launching. Also for the 3 contracts that the launchings that will come up with Intelsat over the next 2 years. We've got an NSAT launching that will take place very soon for Japan. It's time to say goodbye to all the technical crews who made this launching possible here at the Guyane Space Center in Kourou. Thanks to broadcast director Gérard Reynaud and to Susie at RFO Guyane and the broadcast crew. Then we've got all the clients, GE Americom and SES Astra. Thanks and goodbye to my direct boss here, Jacques Denavaux. Thanks and goodbye. We will be back next time.
Thanks to you, Brett Klein. Hope to work with you very soon on another Ariane launch.